Welcome back to the video. So, recently, Shadowverse EVOLVE Grand Prix had their summer tournament, one of their big major tournaments in Osaka recently. And we were going to talk about what did we learn overall from the most recent major that happened in Japan. So, before we continue, I would like to also take a mention to thank everybody that joined in on myself and Shinto Senpai's co-commentary stream. Basically, this was an 8-hour live stream and we had pretty good peak overall, and we thank you for had over almost closely to 1,700 participants, and as you can see over here, there's some class distributions utilized, with Rune having the highest percentage points, almost 1/4 of the field, Haven almost 1/5 of the field, and we also had a pretty close tie between Haven and Abyss, and then Dragon coming as well as close to some sort of the big three outside of Runecraft. Then we have Forestcraft with 11.6, Sword with 5.2, and Uma Musume at 1.1. Now, this is quite notable because I know a lot coming in to this tournament, a lot of people were going to utilize Kuon, and we saw this in a lot of the main matches that out throughout the stream, and it's quite interesting how a lot of people's takes are on Kuon, so we'll definitely get to the high room participation as a big key takeaway, but overall, this is the main distribution for the first day, and transitioning into that, the winner overall was Forestcraft, with the main variant being as shown over here, which was Amata's Forest, basically an aggressive throw deck that was utilized to help the series. Some of the main decks you can go take a look over here, and also take a look at the Shadowverse EVOLVE community Discord for more information on how to get access to this. So we're going to be also talking about now the key takeaways on how impactful this was for noticing about the set and possibly future sets as we go. So, of course, the first main takeaway I do want to give is Forestcraft winning this major. Now, there's some kind of joke over here that actually happened, is that every time that I commentate a Forestcraft game, they usually win, besides one game that actually happened. So it was pretty hilarious to see in Forestcraft winning both majors, because, of course, I am one of the best Forestcraft mains, and I cheer for them. All joking aside, I will like to stress and clarify that there are two actual variants that was implemented within the top 8 distribution. It was pretty much all of the Forestcraft decks were utilizing Amata's Forest, but they were utilizing it in thoroughly different ways. As you can see over here within the top 8 spread, the winning deck over here utilized an aggro format, and Amata's Forest also utilized the Hunter variant. So, got a little bit of some different opinions on how the main utilization for Amata's wants to be used, as it helps generate Storm and gets a lot of those main pieces to push. I really like the aggro variant just because you can go help push with a lot of your fairies and such. And quite interestingly too enough is that Hunter variant was something that was on my overall radar. I was surprised to not see a lot of it being used, as it pops off really nicely. Playing in a lot of my casual games with people, I saw the Hunter variant being a heavy pop-off and a lot more value that is utilized. But the aggro variant works really well too. I especially liked how they used a lot of some of the old pieces. You have stuff like Elven Princess Mage, which helps get Fairy Wisp, and also some notable stuff including Archer, which is a great staple right now in the first set in English. Now, definitely something that's also noted that we noticed during the Swiss rounds is the flexible finishers. We noticed too that some people were also in Silverbolt and King Elephant. King Elephant, of course, very strong. Helped win a game at 1.2 in one of the rounds we commentated. But Silverbolt also was a really great variant, because that's one of the main utilizations that helped win on the Shadowverse EVOLVE Japan Championship, so it's good to see some nice carryover, but with some main general consensus is that Amata's is definitely something that Forestcraft will be going into down the line. The next thing I do want to go talk about is going back to the day 1 side, with Rune having almost 25%, almost 1/4 of the field, is that there was high Rune participation. Now, the main reason why this is because of Kuon, which was basically in almost every single Runecraft variant. What's also the most notable build with Kuon is the utilization with D-Shift. Now, Kuon is really great, especially to help just off your spell chain, and also help pop off within Shift because of the Shikigamis, which can help draw a card and discard a card, which can discard a lot of spells to use for spell chain. And one is really nice in helping give a similar utilization as Amata's with Storm. And I think that this was pretty cool to see a lot more late game focused use of Runecraft, similar to what they did back in the current set 1 in English. And really excited to see the future use of Kuon as we go forward, especially with Kuon being a prize coming in the future majors. Also, something I do want to point out is the Lishena variant was also considered. We saw that in one of the rounds, and pretty nice use of slowdown. Doesn't really focus a lot on popping off within spell chain, but another great option that Runecraft players could have potentially gone to. So I think that's really the openness of Kuon within Booster 6 really helps with a lot of the main participation numbers, even though only, unfortunately, one was able to just make top cuts as I scroll through over here, which is Kuon D-Shift Runecraft, notably as the last deck. I actually don't have one of the links shown over here. You can definitely go check this one out. But I think that it's quite notable just because a lot of the good stuff that added D-Shift, a lot of different draw engines too, because you have different cards that can just draw you 2 cards or such, and can even just thoroughly control the board when needed. I also like the touch of Witch's Apprentice added, stuff like Penguin Wizard, a lot of main notable names with this, and of course Merlin, just to go search those out for D-Shift or potentially your Kuon. So nice, a lot of consistent avenues, and really excited to see what the potential of Rune going forward is, as it was the most popular deck to be played within the Osaka Major. The next point I wanted to mainly talk about is the longevity of Egg Haven. Now, this is quite an interesting build overall. So why is it thoroughly commonly played? As we've seen over within the tops, is that there was 2 Alice-specific Haven decks, or just basically Egg Haven. So why were these builds thoroughly popular, as it was mostly a set that was utilized in set 3? Well, the main good utilization is both the Explosion and also Humpty Dumpty, but I also like Alice being added in throwing pieces similar to what Daria does in set 2 of Runecraft, is that you can plop stuff into the EX area and help play it out. Now, what's really great about this build is that you utilize a lot of set 3 pieces, so if you're looking for a variant probably heading into 2024 for the English side, this will be a good use. But I do think that this build overall with Fairy Tail does take a lot of stuff into consideration on Fairy Tail markers. You have tools like this, and also, of course, the utilization of Alice, but overall, I think that it's pretty standard overall. I'm a bit more surprised that we were able to see a lot more Egg Haven versus stuff like Marwyn, which isn't up there, as that was one of the more popular evolution utilizations in Haven last booster, because in set 5, in the most recent major in Chiba, they utilize Haven a lot as the most popular class, so it's quite interesting to see. It'll still be time to tell if Egg Haven will be thoroughly sustainable. Other stuff that I do want to mention too is, looking back at the participation numbers, is the drop-off of Uma Musume. Really unfortunate to see, though I've kind of always said that Uma Musume is going to be aging a lot, but at least we can see Uma in a lot of different other classes. Utilized, as you saw over there, which is Apprentice, and can also be notable use in Forestcraft with Anishi Flash and Marvelous Sunday being added. I also am talking with this with Shinto Senpai too. Swordcraft had a big decrease in play. I think it makes sense overall just because how much people have really slowed down and how predictable Sword can be, but I really think that there should have been a bit more plays added, maybe around like 7%, but some people were probably not confident on it and trying to find a deck that will blaze through 15 rounds. Other than that, that's been pretty much my main analysis within the Shadowverse EVOLVE Grand Prix happening in Osaka. I think the biggest takeaways out of this was definitely Forestcraft winning the major, because impressively, it only had an 11.6% play percentage. But it definitely showcased a lot of how you can utilize the Hunter variant or an aggro variant for the future. I like kind of figuring out the main identity for Forestcraft, so really excited to see. And also, surprisingly, Rune only had one top within the main 24.7% class distribution. So definitely excited to see if Kuon can bounce back and definitely be one of the best decks heading into there, because I personally think it's one of the main top decks, but unfortunately was not able to go show up within the top 8, except because notably that Forestcraft made 3 top 4s, and then the other one made the finals, which is Egg Haven. So definitely can be a bounce back with Rune heading into the next set, which is the Idolmaster expansion. Other than that, that's been it for today's video. Thank you all for joining in. Continue to embrace the darkness, and we will see you all in the next video.